folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the garage. I hope you all are having a great day. So as you can tell from the thumbnail, today's video we're going to be talking about lights again. And in this video I'm going to be putting in these high beams on my 2004 GMC Envoy. These are, I believe, a newer offering to the market by a company called Oxilam, I think I'm pronouncing that right. These are their 9005 series or HB3 series, again for my 2004 GMC Envoy. Now before I get into the specs, I just want to say, and I want to say thank you to Oxilam. They actually reached out to me and reimbursed me for these headlights. I purchased these on Amazon. I'll have a link to these down in the description below if you're interested. And the sales representative from Oxilam reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in trying these out on my car and just giving my honest review of them. Let's get started. I'm going to unbox them, go through some specs, and then we'll dive into the installation. Alright, so let's get these guys unboxed. Now, I've had the low beams from a company called TECHMAX in my car now for about 7 months, and I've got to say I was really impressed and I really like the LED headlights. They are a significant improvement over the old incandescent bulbs. So when I was contacted by Oxilam to try out these high beam LEDs in my car, I was pretty excited to try it. Again, my low beams are LEDs and have been for about 7 months and have been really happy with them. So really excited to try these guys out. So let's take a look at what is in the box. So again, you get your owner's manual and a little, looks like a little Allen wrench for something, and then of course you get the two LED units themselves. So let's pull these guys out and take a look at them. Alright, so again, these are the HB5s, I'm sorry, the HB3 9005s, which are high beams. And so these guys come with the actual LED itself. You get the quick connect clip, and then I'm not sure what this piece is. If you guys know what this piece is, let me know down in the comments below. And let's take a look at the actual LED unit itself. So inside here, you know, there is a tiny fan that keeps it cool. And then you have a little O-ring to keep moisture out of the housing. And then of course you have your LED chipset here. If you notice, these guys are specifically designed such that they mimic, you know, where the filament of the incandescent bulbs is located. And then also these are to be oriented in the car vertically when you plug these into your headlight housing, this way as opposed to this way. And again, the design concept there is that the light dispersion is very similar to the original incandescent bulbs. Alright, so let's take a look at specs here. Alright, so these guys, again, are the 9005 series bulbs, high beam bulbs. The input power is 45 watts, and I apologize if you can't see this. I'll throw this up on the screen as well here. These bulbs are, or produce 8,000 lumens a piece, whereas my low beams are 5,000 lumens a piece. And I don't have a luminous flux meter, but I do have a lux meter, and that'll just give us some relative data points on the brightness of these. The color temperature on these things are 6,500 Kelvin. Again, that's the same as the low beams I have in now. Your IP rating is IP67, and that is just a rating of dust and water resistance or waterproofness for the bulbs themselves. Operating life, it says greater than 30,000 hours, so that is pretty good. I expect these high beams to last quite a long time. And then the body material is aviation aluminum 6063. And then there you see these bulbs are made in China, as with probably most all LED bulbs these days. So those are the specs. Let's get these guys put in the car and we'll take a look at installation and what the beam pattern looks like, as well as the light output intensity. Alright folks, so let's go ahead and get a baseline of what the old incandescent high beams look like. Now I've got the camera set up here about equal height of the headlights, and let me show you what that setup looks like really quickly. Alright, so I've got the headlights and the camera about the same angle, or about the same height, and we're just going to turn on the high beams and check the luminance as well as the actual beam pattern itself. Alright, so here we go. Here is the app that I'm going to use to check the luminosity. This is just called Lux Light Meter, and I just downloaded this from the Google Play Store. So again, would you like to rate the app? I'll do that later. Alright, so here's what we got. Again, I turned off all of the ambient garage lighting with the exception of the shop light on the other side of the garage. But here is the ambient lighting for the garage as we sit today. And just to give you a little perspective, I have the tripod there set up about, how far away would you say that is, buddy, from the front of the car? Maybe about 4 feet. Went ahead and took some numbers, and these numbers are lux, which is a measure of luminance per square meter. And my low beams, as you can see, right around 900. High beams, the old incandescents, are even less at about 710, 715. So even the difference from...
The low beams are lighter because the high beams are not lighter.
That's right. So the low beams are brighter because those are LEDs, and the high beams that are in here now are a little bit dimmer because they're the old style headlights. All right, so let's keep that in mind. 710-ish for the high beams as they sit right now. Let's get the LEDs plugged in and see what the difference is. All right, so as you can see here, I do have my low beam in. And then high beam is down here below. Just twist this guy out. Undo the clip, pull the connector out. All right, so let's take a look at these two bulbs and compare them. So again, here's the incandescent, the original, and the LED on the right. So as you can see, the height is just about the same, and then actually you can tell there also where the filament on the incandescent bulb sits is almost identical to the location of the LED chipset. All right, so let's get these guys put in here. All right, so as I said, it's just a simple plug and play. I don't know if you can see these, but when you install these, you're going to want the angle of the housing piece, or the reflector, I guess, to be angled up, if that makes sense. So it's going to go in like that. So just put that in the housing, twist to lock it in place. Then this thing, now let me talk about this thing real quick. I know there is a reason for this being here, and it looks like it can tuck down into this headlight housing pretty easily. Let's go ahead and try that here. Okay. All right, so that tucks in there pretty nicely. It may have been a little bit easier to put that driver, that whatever module it is, in before you actually put the LED in, but that actually fits in there pretty well. So I'm not too concerned. It was just a little bit cumbersome, as you saw there, just trying to get in. You know, if I could make a suggestion on this, I would say, you know, design something with this module or driver or whatever built into the actual unit itself. Again, my low beam LED does not have that driver on it, but perhaps that is because it's a low beam, so the power is not as much. So let's get this installed back on the car, and then we'll take a look at the beam pattern and the brightness of the LED. All right, so before I get the passenger side headlight put back in, I just wanted to show you one installation hiccup that I had. So I've got this flipped upside down, but the high beam is here. And if you remember, the plug connections, again, here's the low beam there, but the connector on the high beam here, for some reason, there is not enough space in this headlight housing to slip it down through that little gap. And I think this is actually an aftermarket headlight. I had a run-in with a deer many years ago, and I think this was a replacement headlight housing. So there are these little plastic brackets, I guess, where the bulbs actually twist into. So to be able to get enough room to slip that connector into the housing itself, I simply took my Allen wrench and removed these 3 bolts and then took off that little plastic bracket. That gave me enough room to put that connector inside the housing. So just a little extra work to get this guy connected, but it was only about a 5-minute ordeal. So I'm going to get this one put back in on the passenger side, and then we'll take a look at the brightness in beam patterns. All right, so here we go. So background reading now, it's gotten a little bit darker outside. Background reading is about 82, 83. All right, so let's get the high beams on here. I'm sorry, low beams. These are low beams. So low beams there. Reading is about 687. If you remember earlier, that was a little bit lower than what it was, but I tried to put the tripod back in the same position. So let's check out the high beams now. If you remember earlier, the incandescents were, what were they, 700 and something, whereas the low beams were about 900. So let's turn on the high beams now. And we're up to just a little over 1100. So again, low beams 655, 660, somewhere in that neighborhood, and then high beams up to about 1100. So that's obviously a marked improvement over the incandescent high beams. Again, those were, I think those were in the 700s. I'll have to go back and look at the video. All right, so I'll put up a side-by-side right here. So here is, if you remember, the old incandescent high beam pattern. And also here on the right is the new LED high beam pattern. So let me know what you think. I think they look pretty similar. All right, folks, so there you go. That was a quick installation video and a review of all the specs, unboxing, so on and so forth, of these Oxilam headlights. Before I give you my opinion, let me know down in the comment section below, what do you guys think of these headlights? Have you used this brand of headlights in the past? I will say that I've already gone ahead and ordered some Oxilam LEDs for my backup lights. So we'll see how those do as well. So let's get to the review and my opinion of these high beam headlights. They're definitely brighter, right? As you saw from those numbers, the original incandescent bulbs were measuring about 730, 750 lux on my phone. Take that for what it's worth. It's not a very scientific, it's not a calibrated measuring device. It was just a number. It was for reference. And then when we put in the high beam LEDs, we saw that that number jumped all the way up to 1100. So what is that, a 50% increase in light output? And I don't know if that's the proper terminology, but the point is they're brighter. And it's something for you guys to tell, not just from a video from my dashboard looking out saying, hey, yeah, these are brighter. It's a number to give some sort of measurement to those lights. So in terms of brightness, I'm impressed. I like the brightness. We'll see what they look like, you know, driving down the road at night. So what you're seeing now are the low beams. These are 10,000 lumens. And let me switch over to the high beams here. And there are the 16,000 lumen Oxilam LED headlights. Again, one more time, low beams and high beams. And from my eye, you know, this is lighting up. It's kind of hard to tell distance, but you know, I'm certainly not outrunning my headlights on these low beams, but when I flip over to high beams, I can definitely see much further down the road. This lights up the entire road, you know, certainly from a safety standpoint, you know, would allow me to see any wildlife or anything else running in front of the car at night. As far as installation, I think the installation was pretty easy. In my particular case, I had an aftermarket headlight housing in my car that made it just a little bit more difficult to install these. And on the units themselves, that little module, that driver, that CAN bus, whatever it is, that extra little, you know, matchbook size piece of hardware that's on it, I could deal without that. It's just a little cumbersome, you know, trying to work that into the headlight housing itself. But it's there for a reason, I'm sure, and it wasn't too terribly difficult and cumbersome to get that installed. So, quick wrap up, you know, I like these headlights. Again, shout out to Oxilam for reaching out to me. I appreciate their support. And just want to mention one more time, this is my unbiased opinion of these headlights. I like them, I would recommend them, and if you guys want some, I'll have a link in the description below. If I'm not mistaken, right now on Amazon, and again, check the link in the description below, I think they're running a 20% discount on these particular headlights. So guys, I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, please be sure to hit that like button. It helps the channel and it also helps the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you hadn't done so already, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate your support. So again, thanks for stopping by the channel. Thank you guys for your support, and we'll see you on the next one.